What is up? Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and we have Jason here, and we are back reviewing a film that is not really that new because you saw
Sort
it
of
in
new.
theaters. I saw it in theaters like the last week that it was playing, because literally I went to see it in theaters because it wasn't streaming anywhere. Because I would have streamed it, but it wasn't streaming anywhere. So I went and saw it like I don't remember. It was before Christmas. I went and saw it, and literally like that Friday, like Christmas Eve, I think it's now streaming. I was like, oh man, I could have just waited like a couple of days, but it's fine. It was still like $20 or something like that in order to like stream it. So it ended up being a wash anyway. So
Yeah. And then I saw it. I think back around Thanksgiving, so when it was still pretty new. But my memory of it is pretty good. So
well, good.
good to go.
It's probably it's good. It's good to know. I'm glad your memory's good.
Yeah.
Well, I say well.
You're like, hey, so what did you think? Yeah. You're like, what did you think? And I'm like, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
No.
It was.
Yeah.
Did I see this movie? Did I even watch this movie?
Yeah.
I'm not for sure.
It was definitely a movie.
Yeah, it was definitely a movie. It
Yeah.
had a title. There were some people in it.
There were people. It was in color, and there were places in it and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I say without further ado, I say we get right into it. So I'll go ahead and bring that on in. And the movie that we are referring to in code, it's actually going to be Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. So this is obviously a completely reboot or reimagined version of the Resident Evil series. So it doesn't have what's the girl's name in the original ones?
Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, Mila Jovovich. Yeah, she's not in this film. So I don't know if her character is in this universe or not, but she's not in this particular film. And this one's focused solely on like Raccoon City, and it's actually set in 1998. And it was directed by who's it? Johannes Roberts, I believe.
Johannes.
Johannes.
Come on, Kier.
I don't know that director that well. So Johannes, tomato. But yeah, that's the director of the film. And so basically the film, just in a brief nutshell, it's obviously it's taken off from the game as well. But this one I felt was a little bit more in some parts. I think you alluded to it as well. It's actually a little bit more closely related to the game. Because it centers in on basically the house, the mansion that's in the game, and then the underground, everything, which is also in the original movie. But there were just certain images and scenes in this particular film that reminded me a lot of the game, which I haven't played in at this point close to 20 years at this point. But I did remember like watching certain elements and certain scenes in the movie that reminded me almost ideally of the game with all the characters. Jill Valentine and all the other characters that are in the film, and they're all basically, all the stars and the names that you know of that are basically going into the house and trying to basically figure out what's going on. We basically start off with like a girl that comes back into town on like a motorcycle and kind of interacts with her brother, but you could tell there's something going on in that particular town. They're obviously doing lots of testings and experiments, and then basically an alarm is like sounded off, I guess, at some point. And basically the entire city is basically walled off. And then, as we know with Resident Evil films, is basically being flooded in the streets with like zombies. And that's basically the nutshell of the film without going into too much detail about it. Because I think anybody that's going in to watch a Resident Evil film at this point kind of knows the general, what the film's about. That there's going to be zombies, there's going to be, monsters and things of that nature. And you're going to get all of that in this film. So I'll just keep it kind of brief and short and just basically say in a nutshell. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a great kind of restart to the franchise, if you will. So I'm kind of interested to see where it goes from here, obviously. But I did enjoy, the film for what it was. And I didn't know for sure I was going to like it just because it was different. It has a different kind of tone. It feels a little bit darker as well to me. Than the other series. I just feel like it had like a darker feel, because it was almost always night in the entire film, and it just had like kind of a dark and like kind of like just gloomy kind of feel to it, which I liked and I thought was different. So I did like that they were able to redo the story without making it like verbatim like a remake, I guess, if you will. So it's like you said, it's kind of more of a reboot in my opinion. And I enjoyed it overall. Like I said, I thought it was a good film. I thought it was fun. What was your take, Jason?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I loved it, and I wasn't really expecting to. You know, I mean, like, I love, I'm a fan of the other series. You know, with Mila, and I really like most of the films in that series. And but I don't know, it just seemed like, oh, great, another reboot. You know, I didn't recognize most of the actors in it. I was like, you know, this is going to be some like straight to video level thing, and it really surprised me how well done it was. Honestly, it has really good atmosphere, like you mentioned. Like, I don't think there's a single shot during any like the daytime. Like, it all takes place over one night,
Yeah, really
which
within
of
like a few
course.
hours, essentially. Yeah,
Right, yeah, and which, you know, anytime a zombie movie is set over the course of one night, it makes me think of Night of the Living Dead. You know what I mean? It has that kind of claustrophobic, uh, like centrism. You know, I mean, like, it really hooks you into like a certain place and one
right.
night of time in that place, and um, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's got really great atmosphere. I like the characters, and I really like the nods to the original game. And I'm not much of a gamer, but I did get briefly back into playing games when the first PlayStation came out and Resident Evil came out. I got really into playing those because I love zombie movies. So I really liked the attention to detail it had in like recreating characters and scenarios and specific scenes from those first two movies. You know, it actually like gave me a little like shiver a couple of times because I remembered it recreates some specific moments from the games that I remember like yesterday, like playing, and like, you know, that little, you know, shiver that go up your spine in a really scary part of a game. It did that in this movie. You know, like the scene where they're flying in the helicopter toward the mansion. It's just like the beginning of the first game, and then
Right.
he recreates that semi truck crash from the beginning of the second game. So it's not like exactly like the games, but he works in these specific moments that anybody who played the games and remember the games, you'll remember that moment, you know.
Yeah,
And
like I said, I mean, it's been close to, like for me, close to 20 years since I've even played the Resident Evil game. But seeing those scenes, I instantly remembered playing the game and remember those specific moments in the game for sure. So yeah,
right, and uh, and also, you know, even though there is plenty of action, this is definitely more of a horror movie than the other series, because the other series is very action centric, you know, very kind of
especially in the
Matrix.
sequels, I feel like especially in the sequels, the original one, you can argue there's a lot of action in it, but this one was definitely more horror, because really, the action part of it doesn't really even take place to probably towards the end of the film, really, but mostly it's more just horror, and horror kind of like building up and that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Exactly. And if there's one demerit, it's that it did such a good job recreating the games that there are some parts where I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait till we get to this part of the game," and then it didn't happen. But that's not really the movie's fault. It's more just like, "Ooh, man, I can't wait to see more of those birds or more of those dogs." You maybe not going to see as much of the birds or the dogs as you want to, but it's still going to be. I can't imagine any fan of the games, especially those first two games, not getting a kick out of this movie. I really can't. I thought it was a
I
lot of
think that's
fun.
a fair. Yeah, I think that's a fair point to make. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think anybody that was a fan of the game, essentially will like it. And I will say caveat: the reviews haven't been great or stellar for it, so I don't know that it's not everybody's cup of tea. But I think that if you're a fan of the game, I think that you'll really, really enjoy it. So, and if you're a fan of horror movies in general, I think that you
Yeah.
you should probably get hopefully some enjoyment out of it as well. So.
I think so too. Like, the reviews kind of surprised me. I mean, like, horror movies are always have a little bit of an uphill battle with reviews, but like, I'm a little surprised that they're as bad as they are, because I even went to see it a second time, because I went and I took my nephew to it like just a few days later, and to me, I liked it even more the second time. Like, I think it's a genuinely good horror movie. The way it builds suspense, the way it sets the scene, of the town really well, and like the geography of it.
Yeah.
And again, it's got really good atmosphere, really good action and scares, and I don't understand why the reviews are that bad. I guess, but
Yeah. I mean, they are pretty bad. On all
yeah,
the major sites. But audiences, I think overall gave it a fresh grade. Like even on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 66% with audience score. So I think it's just one of those cases where
yeah,
critics just didn't like it for whatever reason. But most of your everyday audiences enjoyed it. I think for the most part is the way you can, and that happens sometimes. There's obviously films that don't vibe necessarily with critics, but audiences will enjoy it. So, and I think that's
yeah.
overall the case here. Like I said, I don't know too many people that have seen it personally to really say for sure that everybody sees it and loves it, but obviously the
Yeah.
score tells me that a lot of people do like it. It's just mostly critics that aren't in favor of it, and you take that with a grain of salt, though, obviously. So.
Yeah, and I think it was probably not that big of a budget, and I think it was probably successful. So, at least if the audience score is good and if it did well, financially, then I think there's a good chance that we'll see like further development of this spin-off, I guess you could say, which I'd be
Yeah.
all for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be definitely before additional sequels, and they obviously set it up to where there potentially could be sequels, but obviously that's going to be determined upon whether or not this first one made any money or was turned any kind of profit in order to get funding for another one. But I would definitely be down to see a second one for sure. So,
Right,
but yeah,
right, and
but I was just gonna say, yeah, and it doesn't have any big
yeah,
name stars in it, but a lot of people in there were like recognizable faces. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily know them all by name, but I could be like, oh, that's the guy from the Umbrella Academy, or that's the girl from, you know what I mean? So I did know
yeah,
a lot of the faces from films. It just doesn't have like a big marquee, big name star that everybody and their grandma is gonna know. You know what I mean? So that, I guess you take that with a grain of salt as well. So.
yeah, and you mentioned the director before, and I am familiar with this director, and I am pretty much a fan of his because I don't know if you ever saw the sequel, like the second Strangers movie.
I didn't.
Uh, oh, oh man, it's really good. Like, one thing he does really well is he's obviously a big music fan because he always puts like kind of surprising song choices in his movies and kind of takes you by surprise with some of his soundtrack picks. And the Strangers sequel is very much like that. The soundtrack is super important in that movie, and it's got this kind of cool, like weird, like 80s kind of feel to it. And this movie was kind of the same. Like he would drop in a song here and there that's like kind of off kilter and catches you by surprise. So I really like directors that utilize an interesting soundtrack, and he's done that in pretty much all of his movies, but especially the Stranger sequel, and this one had a few nice moments in it too. So I'm definitely looking forward to what he does next.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add
Yep.
about Resident Evil? Welcome to Raccoon City.
Nope.
No? All right. Well, what is the overall grade and face you would give this one?
I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5, real solid B plus. So that'd be a, happy face. I was having a good time both times. I'll probably pick up the Blu-ray too.
I probably will.
Yeah.
I'll pick up the Blu-ray. So I enjoyed it as well. I gave it a little bit less. I gave it 3.5 out of 5, so not too far from you. But I definitely enjoyed it. So big old smile with some teeth. So. But yeah, I thought it was a fun film. Like I said, I think it's definitely one that if you like the game and you like horror and action mix, I think that I would recommend that to anybody that falls into that wheelhouse for sure. Like I said, I think it's a fun film. I had great action, good horror. Just an overall fun film overall for me. So, I mean, definitely. Obviously, if you've seen the film, let us know down in the comments. Did you like it? Did you not like it? As always, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we should be back again with another show for you guys again real soon. We thank you for watching, and we hope you have a great day. Bye. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Jason.
Happy New Year to you, Kier.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
join us next time. Bye.
Bye.